Welcome back to our show. I'm Gary Fretz with my co-hosts Stephen and Estelle Cocroft, and we're talking about getting off the grid. And Stephen, you've been around the world just about 2 times, and what do you have to do to get ready for a long crossing, like go across the ocean?
Well, it's a process. It kind of becomes second nature. If you're going to if you're going to do a long journey in your car, what are you going to do? You're going to check the tire pressure. You're going to check the oil. You're going to check that the car's in good shape. You're going to get a map, or you're going to figure out what your route's going to be, etc. It's much the same for crossing an ocean. If you're going to make a crossing, there are a couple of there's a sequence. A couple of and the important issues are, what is your route? So, a lot of people believe in these e-charts and they sail with computers and charts. Well, good for them, but I don't. I'm not that trusting. If you get struck by lightning, which is known to happen, and all your electronics get fried, you're like a blind man. You don't have any charts. So I go out and collect charts for every part of my journey, paper charts. Sometimes I might not use them. I might rely on my electronic charts, but I will always have paper backup charts. Never find me on the water with just electronic charts. Too risky. So passage planning. I'll plan my route, and I'll make sure I've got charts. I'll make sure I've got cruising guides and instructions as to where I'm going. Requirements on the other side, passports, ship's papers, etc. I'll make sure I've got the right flag for the country, because when you enter a foreign country, you have to fly their flag on the starboard spread. It's called a courtesy flag, and it's expected that you fly the national flag of the country you're in as a courtesy. You need a yellow flag, which shows that you're seeking customs. Then we start looking at the boat and saying, okay, well, let's make sure everything's good on the boat. Generally, I'll make sure that the engines aren't in need of a service. I will always dive the boat or get the boat dived on, have a look at my running gear, my propellers, the bottom of the boat, make sure everything's good down there. I'll make sure that I've got spare lines. I'll make sure that I've got spare engine components and every reasonable spare that one would expect to use. I would carry. Then, of course, you've got to make sure that you've got enough fuel. If you're doing a 2,000-mile crossing, you're not going to be able to motor the whole way, but you calculate what the worst case is. Engines, these small diesels use about 1 gallon an hour. So if you're running on, say if you're going to motor 100 hours, you need 100 gallons. A lot of boats' fuel tanks aren't that big, so what you probably do is carry some bladder tanks with spare fuel. If you have a water maker, what you do is you fill your tanks, and then every time your water gets low, you fill it up with the water maker. You don't wait till it's empty, because if the water maker goes, then you've got no water. If you don't have a water maker, I've made many passages on boats with no water maker. I would buy lots and lots of water and put water bottles in every single hole, so that I had no chance of ever running out of water. That's one of the big issues with me, is I always carry more water than I need. Make sure my sails are in good condition. And then, of course, we get down to provisioning. Provisioning is real easy. I ask Estelle to do it. I don't know if she wants to say anything about it.
Yeah, that's. I love shopping to start with, and then having to do the provisioning for a long trip is an arduous task. But I would just go out, decide what my menu will be for the next 2 weeks, and then repeat the menu after 2 weeks. So I will provision for those 2 weeks for each menu, for the two of us, or how many are on board, or for the time that we will be on board. And then I always provision at least 2 weeks extra, just in case. You never know what might happen. And then I always in my bilges I keep canned food of every variety, just you don't know what might happen. The boat wash ashore or something, so you have food to eat. I guess it's just that I lived on a farm, and we always used to have all these stores on board. Stephen doesn't particularly like it because I've got all these used to have all these rusty cans lying around, but now I treat these cans and I make sure that they don't become rusty, because obviously that could also be a hazard for food. So yeah, that is my modus operandi. I make sure that I provision for a 2-week menu and then repeat that menu after 2 weeks.
Yeah, we've had a few exciting instances. When we were in the Indian Ocean, we thought we were really clever, and we bought this bunch of bananas. Probably weighed about 100 and something pounds. And of course, we had nowhere to put it, so we hung it on the arch at the back of the boat. Of course, not thinking that if we encountered rough weather, this thing would start swinging around with deadly effect. And so you got to secure your stores, is what I'm trying to say. I still want to say.
Yeah, we also caught fish, obviously, on the way. And at one point we caught this enormous fish, and I didn't know what to do with the fish in the end. We were so sick of fish after about 2 weeks of eating fish every day. Fish cakes, fish, poached fish, barbecued fish, canned fish. I made everything I could. And in the end, we actually threw it away because we just were so sick of fish.
Yeah, fish is a good supplement to your diet. So essentially what you want to do is you want to leave the dock with your water tanks full, spare water, your fuel tanks full, and spare fuel. You want to make sure that you have at least 2 propane cylinders. I have run out of propane on one trip. It was very ugly. You want to make sure that you have all the spares you need. You want to make sure that your sails are in good condition. You want to make sure that your spares list, I have a spares list that I just check off and make sure that that's all in good shape. Kind of important, you want to make sure your life raft is up to date. And I have a grab bag which has a lot of emergency gear. It's a waterproof bottle which can float, which I would fling overboard in the worst case. It's got all sorts of survival gear. I'll make sure that's all sorted out. I'll check my flares, make sure my flares are all up to date, and just generally check that the boat's in good condition. And then, of course, the most important thing, I'll be sitting watching the weather, because weather has trends, and I'll watch the weather and just make sure that when the right window comes, we'll do our final shopping, check out, and then we head off into the wild blue yonder. One thing you got to remember when making a long passage: it's not a race. It's survival. It's a survival thing, where you have X amount of resources. You've now left the shore, and you have got to jealously protect those resources. Don't waste fuel. Don't waste water. As I was saying, I always have one water tank completely closed off, so that if somebody by mistake leaves a water tap open, a water faucet open, and all the water runs out, we still have one tank that is absolutely secure. When your water gets low, run your water maker. Make sure that your tanks are always full. Never waste anything. If something goes wrong, then fix it immediately. Because normally when you get into trouble, it is a combination of things that went wrong, not just one thing. And so what you want to do is you want to constantly monitor everything on the boat. You want to monitor your battery levels, the voltage of your batteries, your fuel levels, check in your engine rooms, check your bilges regularly, and basically just treat it as a survival thing and protect your resources jealously, because most boats have redundancy. So if you lose one system, chances are you got a backup. But when you lose that system, do everything you can to fix it, because if your backup goes, then you don't have anything. So treat it as a survival exercise. And of course, there's nothing nicer than seeing your destination come up over the horizon. It's exciting, it's fun, you feel like Christopher Columbus when you get to the other side.
Let's talk about the space available on a yacht. I've seen these families of 4, on boats as small as like 28 feet, but they seem to be oblivious to the fact that they didn't have a giant mansion. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think we talked about this before, that, you just pare down. A small boat doesn't equal small living. You're out there, you're experiencing new things, living life to its fullest capacity. And so that makes up for any other hardship or discomfort that you might have.
Okay, well, we're getting short on time, and we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back to continue this discussion. You're listening to Yachts, the perfect escape vehicle, only on the Overseas Radio Network.